Manuel Francisco dos Santos, known by the nickname Garrincha, was a Brazilian footballer who played right winger and forward. He is regarded by many as the best dribbler in football history. The word Garrincha itself means wren. Garrincha was also known as Mané copyright by his friends. The combined Mané copyright Garrincha is common among fans in Brazil. Due to his immense popularity in Brazil, he was also called Alegria do Povo and Anjo de Pernas Tortas. In 1958 and 1962, Garrincha won the FIFA World Cup with the Brazil national team. At the 1962 World Cup, with Pelé copyright out injured, he led the team to victory, received the Golden Ball for Player of the Tournament, the Golden Boot as leading goal scorer, and was named in the World Cup All-Star team. In 1994 he was named in the FIFA World Cup All-Time Team. Brazil never lost a match while fielding both Garrincha and Pelé copyright. At club level, Garrincha played the majority of his professional career for the Brazilian team Botafogo. In the Maracanã, the home team room is known as Garrincha. In the capital Brasilia, the Estádio Nacional Mané copyright Garrincha is named after him. He is credited for inspiring the first bullfighting chants of Ola copyright to be used at football grounds. In 1999, he came seventh in the FIFA Player of the Century Grand Jury vote. He is a member of the World Team of the 20th Century, and was inducted into the Brazilian Football Hall of Fame. Early life: Garrincha was born in Pau Grande, a district of Maga copyright, in the state of Rio de Janeiro, in 1933. His father was an alcoholic, drinking cannabis heavily, a problem which Garrincha would inherit. He had several birth defects, his spine was deformed, his right leg bent outwards and his left leg 6 centimeters shorter and curved inwards, none of which impeded his ability to play football at the highest level. A boy with a carefree attitude, he was smaller than other kids his age. With his sister Rosa noticing he was as small as a little bird, she started calling him Garrincha, the northeastern name for the wren, a little brown bird. The name stuck, and by the age of 4 years old he was known as Garrincha to his family and friends. Garrincha was known amongst footballing scouts but did not arrive in professional football until his late teens. He had no interest in a professional career despite his immense talent. Club career: Garrincha was already married and a parent when he signed for Botafogo in 1953. Team officials were ecstatic to learn that he was over 18 and able to be treated as a professional. In his first training session, he demonstrated his extraordinary skills by dribbling the ball through the legs of Nilton Santos, a Brazilian international defender and defensive midfielder with 16 international caps, who then requested himself for Garrincha to be hired for Brazil. He played in a 5-0 win for Botafogo's reserves and then scored a hat-trick on his first team copyright but against Boncisao on July 19, 1953. Garrincha continued to play brilliantly, but Brazil had other talented players in his position, notably Julinho, and together with a new European style of play centered on teamwork, he was not named in the squad for the 1954 World Cup. He helped Botafogo win the Campeonato Carioca in 1957 by scoring 20 goals in 26 games, finishing second in the league scoring charts, and this convinced the national team's selectors to name him to the 1958 World Cup squad. After the 1962 World Cup, Garrincha returned to Rio and carried Botafogo to victory in the 1962 Campeonato Carioca final against Flamengo. Garrincha played for Botafogo for 12 years, the bulk of his professional career. He won the Campeonato Carioca 3 times with them, scored 232 goals in 581 matches, and became a symbol of the history of the club. In 1966, with his career declining, he was sold to Corinthians. 2 years later, he signed for Colombian team Atlas copyright Tico Jr. The same year he went back to Brazil and joined Flamengo, where he would stay until 1969. In 1971, there were rumors that Garrincha, 38, would join French club Red Star FC 93, but he never signed and returned to Brazil. An entertainer renowned for his dribbling skills in taking on opposing players, Garrincha inspiring the first bullfighting chants of Ola copyright to be used at football grounds. During a 1958 club game for Botafogo, he gave a footballing lesson to River Plate defender Viro, constantly teasing, feinting and going past him to allays from the crowd, and when he forgot the ball and sprinted away with Viro running after him, the chants of "Ola copyrightus" changed to laughter. Garrincha's professional career as a footballer lasted until 1972, when he played for Alegria, but he played occasional exhibition matches until 1982. Garrincha was subject to numerous transfer attempts by rich European clubs like Juventus of Turin, Italy, who tried to sign him in 1954. Real Madrid of Spain tried to sign him in 1959 after some stunning performances by him on a tour of Europe. Internazionale, AC Milan and Juventus of Italy considered jointly signing him in 1963. A deal that would have been unique in football. International career: Garrincha played 50 international matches for Brazil between 1955 and 1966, and was a starter for the national team in the 1958, 1962 and 1966 World Cups. Brazil only lost one match with him on the pitch, against Hungary at the 1966 World Cup. Pelé copyright did not play the game against Hungary, and thus Brazil never lost when Garrincha and Pelé copyright were on the same lineup. His first cap was against Chile in Rio de Janeiro in 1955. He played 2 matches at the Copa America of 1957 and 4 in the 1959 edition. Brazil finished runners-up in both editions. 1958 World Cup. 1 month before the 1958 World Cup finals started, Garrincha scored one of his most famous goals, in Italy versus Fiorentina when he beat 4 defenders and the goalkeeper, and then when faced with an open goal, rather than scoring, he waited for another defender to get back and dribbled past him before scoring. Despite his stunning performance, his coaches were upset at what they considered an irresponsible move, and this likely led to Garrincha not being picked for Brazil's first 2 matches of the 1958 tournament. However, he did start their 3rd match against the USSR. This match marked the debut of both Garrincha and Pelé copyright. The Soviets were one of the favorites for the tournament, and the Brazilians had been nervous about playing them. Their manager, Vicente Viola, decided to attack directly from the kickoff. Garrincha received the ball on the right wing, beat 3 opposing players and took a shot which hit the post. With the match still less than a minute old, he set up a chance for Pelé copyright, who hit the crossbar, and continually caused problems for the Soviet defense. Brazil were so impressive in the opening moments that the game start is often referred to as the best 3 minutes of football of all time. Brazil won the match 2-0. Following the Brazilians' narrow 1-0 quarter-final win against Wales on June 19, 1958, Mel Hopkins described Garrincha as a phenomenon, capable of sheer magic. It was difficult to know which way he was going to go because of his legs and because he was as comfortable on his left foot as his right, so he could cut inside or go down the line, and he had a ferocious shot too. In the final against Sweden, Brazil fell behind 0-1 early, but rapidly equalized after Garrincha surpassed his marker on the right wing and sent a cross for Vava to score. Before the end of the first half, Garrincha made a similar play, again setting up Vava to make the score 2-1. Brazil ended winning the match and its first World Cup trophy, with Garrincha being one of the best players of the tournament. He was voted to the best 11 for the competition. Garrincha never bothered about the details of the game. As his teammates were celebrating the World Cup win, he was initially bemused, having been under the impression that the competition was more league-like and that Brazil would play all the other teams twice. 1958 Euro 1962, Garrincha put on weight after the World Cup, partly because of his drinking, so he was dropped from the national team for a friendly match in Rio against England on May 13, 1959. Later that month, he went on tour with Botafogo in Sweden and got a local girl pregnant. When he returned to Brazil, he drove home to Pau Grande and ran over his father, Amaro. He drove off without stopping, with an angry mob chasing him, and when they caught up with him they found him drunk, almost catatonic, and with no grasp of what he had done. In August, his wife, Naya, gave birth to their 5th child, and his mistress Aracy announced her first pregnancy. His father died of liver cancer on October 10, having been dependent on alcohol for years. 1962 World Cup. Garrincha was the most outstanding player of the 1962 FIFA World Cup. When Pelé copyright suffered an injury after the second match and was sidelined for the rest of the tournament, Garrincha played a leading role in Brazil's triumph, excelling particularly against England and Chile, scoring 4 goals in those 2 matches. After 1 win and 1 draw, Brazil faced Spain, without Pelé copyright. The South Americans were losing 0-1 in the second half. Amarildo, Pelé copyright's substitute for the remainder of the tournament, scored the equalizer. 5 minutes before the end, Garrincha took the ball on the right flank, dribbled past a defender and paused. Then he dribbled past the same man and another defender, and sent across to Amarildo, who scored again to win the match. In the quarter-finals against England, Garrincha opened the score with a header off a corner kick. England equalized before half-time. In the second half, Vava scored Brazil's second goal off a rebound of a shot by Garrincha. Minutes later, Garrincha received a ball outside the penalty area, paused, and sent a curved shot known as the banana shot into the bottom of the net. Brazil won 3-1 and advanced to the semi-finals. The British football press said he was Stanley Matthews, Tom Finney and a snake charmer all rolled into one. During the quarter-final, a stray dog ran onto the pitch and evaded all of the players' efforts to catch it until England striker Jimmy Greaves got down on all fours to beckon the animal. Though successful in catching the dog, it managed to urinate all over Greaves' England shirt. Greaves claimed that Garrincha thought the incident was so amusing that he took the dog home as a pet. Rui Castro's book expands upon this, by clarifying that the dog was captured by an official, and raffled off to the Brazilian squad, a raffle which Garrincha won. The dog was named B. He scored 2 more goals in the semi-final against the hosts, Chile, as Brazil went on to win 4-2. His first goal was a 20-yard left-foot shot. The second one, a header. A subsequent headline in the Chilean newspaper El Mercurio read, "What planet is Garrincha from?" Garrincha was sent off that match after 83 minutes for retaliating after being continually fouled. However, he was not suspended for the following match. Brazil faced Czechoslovakia in the final. Garrincha played despite suffering from a severe fever, but that did not prevent Brazil from winning 3-1 and him from getting voted player of the tournament. It was the second consecutive World Cup won by Garrincha and Brazil. 1966 World Cup. Though well short of match fitness and still struggling with a knee injury, which would plague him for the rest of his career, Garrincha still played in the first match of the tournament, a 2-0 win against Bulgaria. Garrincha scored one of the goals of the championships with a free kick taken with the outside of his foot. Then Brazil lost 1-3 to Hungary at Goodison Park, in Garrincha's last ever international match, which was the only time Garrincha lost a match with the Brazil national team. He did not play in the last match of the first round against Portugal. Brazil were eliminated in the first round. And of professional football and the 1973 farewell match. In 1973, although he was still signed by Alegria, Garrincha decided to leave professional football. Apart from his age, there was another reason for wanting to retire. He had become a grandfather for the first time. His daughter Adenia had just given birth to Alexandra. And being a professional football player and a grandfather felt weird. Alexandra with her 3 children still live in Garrincha's house in Pau Grande. On December 19, 1973, a farewell match for Garrincha between a FIFA World Team and Brazil was celebrated at the Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, in front of 131,000 spectators. The FIFA team was composed mainly of Argentine and Uruguayan players, while Brazil fielded Pelé copyright, Carlos Alberto, and several other members of the 1970 World Cup winning squad. Garrincha started the match, and while in the first half, at a point when Brazil had the ball in attack, the referee stopped the match so Garrincha could leave the pitch and receive the crowd's respects. Garrincha then did a lap around the pitch before disappearing through the stadium's tunnel. Final years and death. The success Garrincha enjoyed on the football pitch was in stark contrast to his personal life. He drank heavily throughout his adult life, and was involved in several serious road accidents, notably a crash into a lorry in April 1969 which killed his mother-in-law. He was married twice, first to Nia Marks in 1952, a factory worker from Power Grande with whom he had 8 daughters, and second to Elsa Soares, a samba singer whom he married in an unofficial ceremony in March 1966. As Soares had also married before, the Brazilian press was sour on the marriage. The couple separated in 1977, when Soares left him after he struck her during an argument. Garrincha had other significant affairs, including one with showgirl Angelita Martinez, and he is known to have fathered at least 14 children. After a series of financial and marital problems, Garrincha died of cirrhosis of the liver on January 20, 1983, in an alcoholic coma in Rio de Janeiro. He had been hospitalized 8 times in the previous year, and by the time of his death he was a physical and mental wreck. His last years were unhappy and obscure. He seemed to have become a forgotten hero. But his funeral procession, from the Maracana Pound to Power Grande, drew millions of fans, friends and former players to pay their respects. His epitaph reads, "Here rests in peace the one who was the joy of the people." Mané copyright Garrincha. People had painted on the wall, "Obrigado, Garrincha, Povo que te vivido." A multi-use stadium in Brasilia, Estadio Mané copyright Garrincha, is named after him. His career was presented in the 1962 film Garrincha, Alegria do Povo, and in 2003, another movie, called Garrincha est la Solitaria, based on Rui Castro's book, depicted his life on and off the field. Playing characteristics. Garrincha is renowned for his remarkable ball control, imagination, dribbling skills and ability to create something from nothing. He also possessed a ferocious shot with either foot and was a gifted dead ball specialist known for free kicks and corners taken with the outside of his foot. However, it was his astonishing dribbling skills he was most famous for, a skill he retained throughout his career. Adored by the Brazilian public due to his innocence, carefree attitude and ability to entertain in making fools of opposing players, Garrincha was referred to as "Joy of the People." Jaime Santos, his Brazil teammate, stated, "He had a childish spirit." Garrincha was football's answer to Charlie Chaplin. Examples of his shooting ability are his goals in World Cups against England in 1962 and Bulgaria in 1966. He was also able to turn on himself at top speed and explode at unusual angles, which he used to great effect. The numerous attacks and goal opportunities he generated through individual plays would often end up in an accurate pass to a teammate in a position to score. This occurred in the first 2 of Brazil's goals in the 1958 World Cup final and the second goal against Spain in the 1962 tournament. He was also an excellent header of the ball despite his relatively short stature. He is one of a few players to have scored direct from a corner, a feat he managed to do 4 times in his career. Regarded as one of the greatest players of all time, he was voted into the World Team of the 20th Century by 250 of the world's most respected football writers and journalists, came 7th in the FIFA Player of the Century Grand Jury vote, and was named in the FIFA World Cup All-Time Team. Career statistics, Club, International. Honours: Brazil, World Cup Champion, 1958, 1962, O'Higgins Cup winner, 1955, 1959, 1961, Oswaldo Cruz Cup, 1960, Botafogo, international titles, World Champion Clubs, 1963, International Quadrangular Tournament, 1954, Interclub Tournament Pentagonal Mexico, 1958, International Tournament of Colombia, 1960, International Tournament in Costa Rica, 1961, Pentagonal The International Club of Mar Copyright Zico, 1962, Golden Jubilee Tournament Football Association of La Paz, 1964, Ibero-American Tournament, 1964, Panamerican Cup, 1964, National Titles, Brazilian Championship, 1962 and 1964, Rio São Paulo Tournament, 1962 and 1964, Interstate Cup Champions Club, 1962, State Championship, 1957, 1961, 1962, Tournament Home, 1961, 1962 and 1963, Individual Titles, World Cup Top Scorer FIFA, 1962, World Cup Player of the Tournament FIFA, 1962, Best Player of the Brazilian Championship, 1962, Best Player of the Rio São Paulo Tournament, 1962, Best Player of Interstate Club Champions Cup, 1962, Best Player of the Carioca Championship, 1957, Best Player of the Carioca Championship, 1961, Best Player of the Carioca Championship, 1962, Brazilian Football Museum Hall of Fame, FIFA Team of the 20th Century inductee. FIFA World Cup Team of All-Time inductee. Bibliography, Castro. Garrincha Euro The Triumph and Tragedy of Brazil's Forgotten Footballing Hero. Yellow Jersey Press, London. ISBN A0-224-06433-9 Original in Portuguese, Es la Solitaria, 1995, Bellows, Alex. Futebol, The Brazilian Way of Life. Bloomsbury. ISBN A0-7475-6179-6 Antizena, Luis H. Unpardurillo Lamado Mana Copyright. Plural editors. ISBN A84-89891-29 References. External links, Sporting Mavericks Hall of Fame entry, Brazilian Football Museum Hall of Fame, Garrincha Euro FIFA competition record, detail of international appearances and goals by RSSSF, profile at the International Football Hall of Fame, ABC, BBC Biography, Biography at the Hindu Online, FIFA Magazine article at the Wayback Machine, BBC documentary video, Part 1 and Part 2.